Hello and welcome to the monthly roundup for July. My name's Sharon Cook, I'm the London Director for SWAT UK, also one of the tax lecturers.
And I'm Julia Penny, I'm the Technical Director and I specialise in audit, accounting, money laundering and anything which isn't tax, really.
So between us we make a decent person.
Yeah,
just about. So what we're going to be doing over the next 60 to 90 minutes is running through the agenda we've put together for today, which you can download alongside this session, and really talk about what's been interesting Julia and I in the various technical fields over the last month or so.
Yes, and hopefully what that will give you is some pointers as to what you need to do next, where you need to take action for procedures, for training, or just to understand a little bit more about what has been going on. And there has been quite a lot going on, considering we seem to be drifting into summer.
Surprisingly, I actually thought it was going to be quite a quiet month. We put the agenda together and it got longer and longer and longer.
It did.
So quite a lot to say. So actually, once again, I was going to kick off today by talking about the Queen's speech, which we had back on the 21st of June. It has given us some insight as to what we can expect in the field of tax over the next year or two. Not a massive insight, of course, with the political environment as it is now. They're not saying much at all.
No.
And of course, everything I'm going to be saying today is on the perhaps rather shaky assumption that we don't have another election. And who knows?
Well, that's it. I mean, so much uncertainty brought in with the last election and the minority government that we've now got. It is all a bit tentative, isn't it? So we think we've got this, that and the other, and we didn't quite know. But of course, we've got to carry on. So we'll go with what we do know.
Well, quite, absolutely. So we have been told in the Queen's speech that her government will be generating tax revenues needed for public services, which would suggest additional tax. We're seeing lots of pressure to lift the pay caps, not that that's happening at the moment. But the Queen's speech also confirmed that her government would be keeping taxes low, to quote. So how they plan to reconcile the two, inevitably we will find out in due course. One of the most interesting things tax-wise from the Queen's speech was the announcement that the next session of Parliament is going to last for 2 years rather than the normal 1 year. And we've been told that over the next 2 years, we can expect 3 finance bills, being, firstly, the summer finance bill. Now that's the one for all of us we really want at the moment, desperately waiting for the finance bill, but becoming more and more precarious by the day. In the Queen's speech, they said this summer finance bill would include a number of anti-avoidance measures, as always. What's new?
Yeah.
But what we're actually expecting it to contain are all those clauses you may remember got dropped from the original finance bill back in March. We ended up with a much shorter version going through and getting royal assent.
So we've ended up with lots of gaps in what the rules are for tax, haven't we? So we don't quite know where we are, and that's why it's so urgent.
Yeah, it's pretty bad at the moment, actually. I was with a firm a couple of weeks ago, and they said they've got quite a large property investment company that has subsidiaries. And last year, that company, with the directors of that company, asked for tax advice on the disposal of subsidiary. And they said, well, it's going to trigger a gain within the company, and that's going to be taxable. Earlier this year, they said, look, the substantial shareholdings exemption rules are changing. Now you haven't got to be a trading company making a disposal to use the exemption. So you won't pay tax on the disposal of a subsidiary. And now a few weeks ago, they've had to go back to say, if you do dispose of the subsidiary, we've no idea what the rules are. Because when we do get a summer finance bill, it may be backdated for disposals on or after 1st of April 17, but we don't know. And that's a really good firm that's gone from saying you will pay tax to you won't pay tax to we just don't know if you're going to pay tax.
And it does create huge practical issues, because how on earth are you supposed to make decisions if you don't know what the tax is?
Quite.
And then there's the question, we generally don't backdate legislation, but of course we're all expecting this legislation to sort of start from April. That was announced in advance. So even now we've got a lot of uncertainty as to how it will come out in the final bill.
And actually jumping down the agenda a little, just while we're on the topic of that, I don't know if you've got an agenda in front of you, if we pull it up. I've mentioned on there somewhere about the corporation tax loss reform. Now, corporation tax losses are very much like the substantial shareholding exemption, part of this missing legislation, where it came out, got dropped, and now We don't know. We think it will come back in this summer finance bill, which is certainly still missing.